Aaron Cantu, FightHype.com, here with the voice of Showtime Championship Boxing, Brian Custer. Brian, thanks for taking the time, man. This fight is going to get us one step closer to undisputed. Ugas against Spence. It's no gimme for Spence. Break down this fight.
No, I think it's good. I think you got two hungry guys. Listen, Ugas, his story is really something. I mean, just from defecting over from Cuba to being here, taking fights on short notice, time and time again, always being the underdog and always coming out on top. And then Errol, who has gone through a car accident, could have died. Now all of a sudden, a detached retina. I mean, as he talked about, this is basically his third chance when it comes to boxing, let alone life. To me, you got two hungry fighters, and I think the best thing, here's the best thing. Ugas and Errol have both talked about, I want to be the undisputed welterweight champion of the world. So you know what that means. That means they're hungry for this win, and then the winner obviously is hungry for the guy who has the WBO belt, which is Terrence Crawford.
No doubt, Brian. And, obviously you're neutral, so you can't give a pick or anything, but what are you looking for to be the key to the fight?
But I think, A, busier fighter. Two guys who are hellacious body shot punchers. So, and here's the thing about it, they both love the fight. So it's not going to be, I don't think it'll be more of a chess match. I think it's going to be more of an all-action fight because I think, you've already seen with Errol, when he gets touched, he wants to scrap. And the same with Ugas. I mean, Ugas has been down a few times and still gotten back up off the mat in one fight. So to me, that's why I think it's going to be a really, really action-packed fight because they both like to fight on the inside. Now, Errol can box as well. But I just think it's going to be really all action. And, hey, look, I mean, if you looked at Ugas against Pacquiao, he just neutralized his jab and just pounded him. So that's why I think it'll be all action.
No doubt. And, Brian, I got to ask because, people who know boxing, and obviously you've had him on your show, know that Jaron Ennis is a problem at welterweight. Is he a guy that you think can step in right now with the likes of Spence, Ugas, or Crawford?
Well, I mean, he does. He believes it. And that's, I mean, in that half the battle, you got to believe it. And he does. And he's always maintained that, like, I'm ready to fight them now. They need to be fighting me now. You just heard, I just sat down and interviewed Yordenis Ugas, and Ugas said, look, I love Boots Ennis as a fighter. And, I win this fight, and if I've got to fight Boots Ennis, then I'll do it. Listen, there are a number of guys who've said, you know what, great fighter, why would I fight him now? He ain't got no belt. You know what I mean? And so you know what that means. That means, that kid's a problem. That kid's a problem. And I'll give Keith Thurman all the credit in the world because when he came on The Last Stand and he sat down and said, I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why. Yes, I do know who Boots Ennis is. I know I had made that statement in the past, but yes, I know who he is now. But he said, why would I fight him? He doesn't have a belt. I want belts. I want to get back to being at the top. So I want to fight just the top guys. I put in my sweat equity. I wanted just to fight the top guys. And he said, I look at it as if when I was in his position and I was calling out Mayweather and everyone wanted us to fight and Mayweather never chose me. So that's why I'm not choosing him right now. At least Keith was honest about it and told you about the way you select your opponents.
Yeah. Good deal. Good content there. And there's a couple on what do you make of, I just want to get your comments on, some of the top pound-for-pound fighters in the world come from Ukraine. Lomachenko, Usyk, Klitschko brothers, all going back to defend their homeland, man. What's your reaction to that? Yeah, man, someone asked me about that today, and listen, that's why I love this sport. I love these fighters, man, because they are really true warriors. It's one thing to get in the ring and put your life on the line. It's another thing to do it for your country. And so these guys have actually put the gloves down and have gone from dodging combinations and jabs to dodging bullets. That, to me, is the true essence of a fighter. And listen, whether it's Lomachenko, the Klitschkos, I give them all the credit in the world. I don't even think we can fathom what they're going through. And listen, we had Victor Postol on that card, on that Chris Colbert card, and he talked about when he fought Russell, I'm torn. My wife and my twin sons are back in the Ukraine, but I had already had this fight. I can't back out of it.
and I'm going to fight, and I'm going to fight for my country. But as soon as this fight is over, I'm finding a way to get right back to the Ukraine to be with my family and do whatever I can for my country. I mean, that's a remarkable.
It's wild, man. And then last thing, Brian, after 2 tough losses to Tyson Fury, do you think it's time for Deontay Wilder to hang it up and retire? And if he does, where does he rank amongst the all-time American heavyweight champions?
Well, I don't think the story's over yet. I don't think Deontay Wilder should hang him up. I think Deontay Wilder is still an exciting fighter. Hell, those were exciting fights. You know, sometimes there's just a guy that has your number. And it's Tyson Fury's style. Man, who wouldn't want to see Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua?
Or Ruiz.
Or Dillian White. I mean, to me, there's still a number of fights out there. So in no way do I think Deontay Wilder ought to hang it up. And I don't think his story is far from over. So we'll have to wait till it's over before we rank him in the great heavyweights. But he certainly had a long reign. Don't get me wrong when you talk about the most title defenses.
Right? Good deal. Thanks, Brian.